March 7, 2025. That's the date the headlines dropped, and honestly, nobody saw it coming. 1 minute, Ha-nee Lee is the picture-perfect actress, the beauty queen who transitioned into a serious career, a new mom again, seemingly untouchable. The next, her name is splashed across the news associated with that one word that can end a career in South Korea overnight: tax evasion. It wasn't a quiet rumor whispered on forums either. It was an official acknowledgement from her label, Team Hope, that the National Tax Service had come knocking. They didn't just knock, they conducted a comprehensive special tax audit. When you hear special tax audit for a corporate artist, you immediately assume the worst. You assume hidden accounts, offshore schemes, the whole 9 yards. And for a hot minute, the internet absolutely lost it. Here we go again, another star thinking they're above the law, right? But then the statement dropped and the situation got weirdly complicated fast. The agency came out swinging, not with an apology, but with a clarification. They stated clearly there was no tax evasion, no deliberate omissions, no fake expenses, none of that shady stuff that usually lands people in court. According to Team Hope, the issue wasn't about Ha-nee Lee hiding money. It was about how she categorized her income. See, Ha-nee Lee isn't just an actress. She does traditional music performances. She develops content. She makes investments. It's a portfolio. To manage all that, she set up a corporation called the Ho Project. The idea was simple: keep the money she makes from acting separate from the money she makes from these other business ventures. The corporation paid corporate tax on that business income. Sounds smart, right? Sounds like what any financial advisor would tell you to do. But the tax authorities looked at that setup and said, no, this is personal income. You need to pay personal income tax on it, not corporate tax. So now you're stuck in a bureaucratic nightmare. It's not that she didn't pay tax, she paid the wrong kind of tax in the eyes of the government. It's frustrating to watch because it feels like a technicality blew up into a scandal. Team Hope emphasized that Ha-nee Lee paid the additional taxes immediately. They even claimed she paid an amount significantly higher than the highest statutory tax rate just to settle the matter and move on. That doesn't sound like someone trying to pull a fast one. That sounds like someone who just wants the headache to go away. But in the court of public opinion, nuance dies a quick death. The headline Ha-nee Lee tax evasion scandal was already out there. The correction gets buried on page 5. People see the accusation, they gasp, and they move on to the next celebrity. It feels almost absurd, especially if you followed her career, that this is the hill people chose to die on. It's giving flashbacks to 2012, remember that? The whole vegetarian scandal. She claimed she hadn't eaten meat in 9 years because of her sibling. Then footage surfaced of her chewing meat on a show. Her agency had to explain she chewed it for the cameras and spat it out. It sounds ridiculous now, and it sounded ridiculous then. She's had this target on her back for over a decade, where people are just waiting to catch her slipping up. First, it's about a piece of meat. Now it's about corporate tax brackets. It's exhausting just keeping up with the reasons people find to be mad at her. But here's the thing about 2025. Just when the tax dust was starting to settle, she decided to wade right into another firestorm. On December 3rd, a movie called The People Upstairs hit theaters, and the reaction was visceral. Before anyone even saw a frame of the film, the synopsis alone was enough to send Korean netizens into a frenzy. The plot is, let's say, adventurous. You have a married couple whose spark is dead, and they get driven crazy by the noises from the upstairs neighbors, played by Ha-nee Lee and Ha Jung-woo. Eventually, the upstairs couple makes an offer: partner swapping. That's the premise. And it's not like it's an indie arthouse film pushing boundaries. It's a mainstream commercial release with A-list stars. When the casting was announced, people couldn't wrap their heads around it. We're talking about Ha-nee Lee, a former Miss Korea, the star of One the Woman, standing next to Ha Jung-woo, a top-tier actor. Why are they doing this? The internet was brutal. Comments flew in calling the movie cheap, disgusting, and low-grade. People were asking if this was just a fantasy project for some middle-aged director. There was genuine confusion about why actors of this caliber would sign up for a story about wife swapping. It felt beneath them. And then there were the cameos. Cha Tae-hyun and Jia-yeon show up as a couple, and immediately people zeroed in on the age gap, calling it cringy and saying Jia-yeon is young enough to be his daughter. The judgment was harsh before a single ticket was sold. It felt like the industry was moving backward, or maybe these actors were just bored. Director Ha Jung-woo, who also stars in the film, tried to do damage control before the release. He swore up and down that there were no explicit 19-plus scenes. He framed it as a look into real marriage, asking the hard questions like, should you stay or split up? He tried to sell it as a satire, a comedy about the boredom of domestic life, but the public wasn't buying the sales pitch. The prevailing sentiment was, I don't care if it's satirical, the premise itself is gross. It's a risk. You take a beloved actress like Ha-nee Lee, put her in a role that challenges the conservative values of the general audience, and you're rolling the dice. If the movie flops, she takes the heat. If the movie is seen as trashy, her image takes the hit. And let's not forget the timing. She gave birth to her second daughter in August of 2025. That is literally 4 months before this movie dropped. Most women are still in the thick of postpartum recovery, figuring out sleep schedules, and here she is doing press rounds for a movie about swapping partners. The contrast is jarring. It adds to the chaos. It makes you wonder, does she ever stop? While the tax audit was looming in the spring, she was pregnant. While the netizens were roasting her movie choice in the winter, she was raising a newborn. It paints a picture of someone who is operating on a completely different frequency than the rest of us. She's out here living 3 lives at once: the dutiful mother, the scrutinized taxpayer, and the risk-taking actress. But then, the box office numbers came in, and the script flipped. For all the noise online, for all the ew, gross comments and the confusion about the plot, the people upstairs actually worked. It became a commercial and critical success in the domestic market. The reviews weren't just polite, they were genuinely good. It turned out that the story resonated with people more than the Twitter commentary suggested. Maybe the questions about marriage were worth asking. Maybe seeing perfect stars like Ha-nee Lee in messy, compromising situations made the story feel more human. It's a classic twist. The public predicts a disaster, the art delivers something else, and suddenly the critics have to eat their words. The movie didn't flop. It proved her versatility yet again. She went from a prosecutor in The Fiery Priest to a corrupt boss in Won the Woman to this. It's hard to pin her down, and that seems to be exactly how she likes it. Looking back at the chaos of 2025, it's weird how the tax story and the movie story collided. On one hand, you have the scandal of her trying to manage her finances smartly and getting slapped for it. On the other, you have the scandal of her making a movie that people judged before watching. Both incidents reveal a lot about the spotlight she lives under. It's a spotlight that demands purity in your finances and sanctity in your art. And Ha-nee Lee kind of spat in the face of both this year. She paid the tax bill, kept the corporation, and released the movie anyway. There's something almost admirable about the stubbornness of it. She didn't retreat. She didn't issue a tearful apology for the movie content. She just said, watch it. And they did.